Welcome back YouTube. Today we're going to walk through what is the best training split for building muscle mass and or retaining muscle mass. People trying to find out or ask what the best training split is a very popular question, right? And there is no one best training split for everyone, right? But there probably is a better training split for you and your current situation. And we're going to walk through how to identify what that is for you in this video. If you do enjoy the video, please drop a like. If you have any questions throw them down below. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe because it helps me out a ton. Okay, so before we get into the few factors that you need to consider to determine what split is best for you, let's just quickly delve into splits as a whole, right? Now, splits as a whole aren't going to be the be-all and end-all. However, they will make a difference in how good your training can be, okay? Because again, like I said just at the beginning there will be better splits for different individuals dependent on their situation, okay? So you want to try and find the best split for you to then get the most out of your training, which is then also obviously going to help you get the most out of your results, whether that be building muscle mass or retaining muscle mass. So let's talk through the few things we need to take into consideration to determine the best split for us. Okay, the first thing we need to identify is session frequency. And what I mean by this is how often through the week you can commit to training. Okay, so realistically, how many times can you get to the gym in a week? Now, this is the most important thing, right? Because if you look on the internet and you see push-pull legs is the best training split to do, right? But that requires you to get to the gym 6 times a week, and you can only get to the gym 4 times a week, then trying to follow that training split is utterly pointless. So you need to first identify how many times a week you can get to the gym, because that's going to determine, with the other factors which we're going to come on to, what training split is best for you. So right now, have a look at your timetable, have a look at how busy you are, and identify how often you can get to the gym every single week. Consistency is important, so it needs to be a number that you can get to on a consistent week-to-week basis. Okay, next. The next factor we need to consider is ideally we want to train each muscle group 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, so we want to train, let's say, chest 2 to 3 times a week, ideally. Back 2 to 3 times a week. Quads, hamstrings 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, you get the idea. Now, we can obviously already see how often we can train in the gym a week is going to impact the split we use if we're trying to train each muscle group 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, because for example, if you can only get to the gym 3 times a week and you need to train each muscle group 2 to 3 times a week, all of a sudden that's telling you that a full body split is probably going to be the best. If you can get to the gym 4 times a week and you need to train each muscle group 2 to 3 times a week, then maybe an upper-lower split might be best. If you can get to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, then you can be looking at things like push-pull legs, where you can break down each muscle group maybe a little bit more. You know, or you might be looking at something like upper-lower, and then arms and shoulders if you want to prioritize one muscle group more than the other. But now hopefully you can start to get an idea and see why how often you go to the gym a week is going to be the most important thing, because all these other factors you have to then fit underneath that. Thirdly, we want to make sure we're fully recovered before we train the same muscle group again. Okay, so let's say we train chest on Monday. We want to make sure by the time we come to train chest again, our chest is fully recovered. Okay, so let's say you've got DOMs in your chest the next day or the next 2 days. You're not going to want to train chest again Tuesday and Wednesday. You're probably going to want to leave it a good 1 or 2 days before you train it again. Okay, so as a general rule of thumb, I would say try and leave that muscle group to rest minimum 1 day, probably 2 days before you think about training it again. So not only does this help you determine what split you might want to use, but it also then helps you determine on what day you're maybe going to train or train specific muscle groups, okay? Because again, if we're trying to make sure we're giving ourselves a couple of days rest in between training the same muscle group, that might determine what our split is and how that split looks across the week. So for example, let's say I'm going to do an upper lower split. Okay, maybe Monday I do upper, Tuesday I do lower. Wednesday, rather than jumping straight back in and doing upper again, maybe Wednesday I rest. I give myself Tuesday and Wednesday to rest from doing upper on Monday, to then train upper again on Thursday. Give myself that 2-day rest period. Thursday's upper again, Friday's lower again. Again, Friday's giving you 2 days from when you last trained lower on Tuesday, and so forth. But there you have it. They're the 3 biggest factors you need to take into consideration when it comes to determining what split is going to be best for you, right? How many times you're going to go to the gym, trying to make sure we're training each muscle group 2 to 3 times a week, and then making sure we're giving ourselves enough rest between training the same muscle group so we're fully recovered by the time we come to train it again. If you did find this video helpful, please drop a like. If you had any questions throughout them, do throw them down below so I can get back to you. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I post a lot of videos every week helping you get to your end goal. Take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.